Hello, I'm Emery King, Communications Director with the Detroit Medical Center, and we are pleased to be with you today to talk about broadband and bandwidth and other things with David Ellis, who is the Corporate Director of Planning and Future Studies for the Detroit Medical Center, also, or otherwise known as our resident futurist. How's that, David?
That's right. That works for me.
It's good to be with you again.
It's great to be with you too.
Let's just start right in on this. What is bandwidth? What is broadband?
Bandwidth is the speed and carrying capacity of the highway along which we send and receive packets of data every time we send an email, we watch a YouTube video, or we click on the order button on a store website. The broader the bandwidth, the faster the packets can go and the more packets the highway can carry.
All very interesting, maybe a little academic for some. Let's go at it this way. Why is broadband so important to ordinary people?
Broadband is important because we increasingly live our lives and do our work on the highway, and we don't want to be held up in slow traffic or stuck in a traffic jam. When we click on send email or play that video or order that gizmo or apply for that job, we want it to happen now. And by we, I don't just mean the geeks among us, I mean everybody. Devices such as smartphones, the exciting new iPad from Apple, of which I am the proud new owner of one, are for people with or without any knowledge of computers. In short, they're for everybody, and they're for everything, not just those things we associate with computers, such as word processing, spreadsheets, but everyday things like shopping, listening to the radio, watching TV. It's these everyday things and not the geeky, computery things, with a few exceptions, that need those vast amounts of bandwidth. But the importance of broadband goes much deeper than simply satisfying our impatience and meeting our everyday needs. At its deepest, I would agree with a former FCC chairman, Michael Powell, who said that in today's economy, having access to broadband, to the broadband internet, is synonymous with growing our economy. I couldn't agree more.
Very interesting. Does it matter if it's wired or wireless?
Absolutely, very much so. Physics currently enables wire to carry more data than the airwaves, but let's face it, it's already become a largely wireless world, and it'll only become more so. It matters in particular because African Americans have one of the lowest adoption rates for wired or wireline service, but one of the highest rates of smartphone use. So to the extent there are disparities in access to knowledge and opportunity, and Lord knows there are, wireless helps level the playing field. Today's FCC chairman, Julius Genachowski, said it's high-speed wireless technology that will drive consumers and potential legislation in the future, and that broadband is the future of mobile, and mobile is a key part of the FCC's broadband strategy. And Michael Powell is right on, or was right on. Or Genachowski, I'm getting my FCC commissioners confused.
Okay, David, how much bandwidth do we need?
How much do we need? As much as we can get. At least enough to get real-time, high-definition movies and TV over the internet, and that's just today. Within a decade, everybody will be expecting to be watching 3D movies and 3D TV, and they'll demand much, much more bandwidth than we have today.
What are some of the things we could do with bandwidth today that we're not doing?
You know, it's not so much a question of what we're not doing, but what we're not doing enough of, what we're not pushing hard enough to make happen, what we're not utilizing the full potential of. Let me give you some examples. Home medical monitoring. We could be monitoring patients at home instead of keeping them in our hospital to do that monitoring. We're not doing nearly enough of that today. Social medical networks. There are some wonderful networks out there. 23 Patients Like Me springs to mind. Patientslikeme.com if you're interested, or might be .org. Check it out. It's a place where you can go and contribute information about your particular condition and the drugs you're taking and what impact it's having and so on. But you can also see what other patients who are like you demographically or in terms of your symptoms, what they're experiencing, what they've tried and what works and so on. That kind of social-medical networking we could do a lot more with that today than we are doing. And within the profession of medicine itself, telemedicine, the provision of care over the internet, over broadband, we're only just scratching the surface of what could be done today.
And I suppose we could just let our imaginations run wild, thinking about those things that we could do in the future with broadband as we continue to develop technology. Talk about that a little.
We'll be doing the things we're doing today. That's one aspect. We may be doing some things that we don't even know we can do today. Of the things that we're doing today, we'll definitely be doing a lot more of them. And they will have the added benefits of having 3D interfaces, haptics, that means giving a sense of touch. We'll be able to touch objects at a distance. And of course, that part of that is through augmented reality, where we can project our virtual selves into a real environment somewhere else, or we can project our real selves into a virtual environment and interact and touch and feel and see that environment. The key thing is that all of these technologies require more bandwidth than we have now. So we can never have enough bandwidth.
So David, finally, if for our viewers, if I were to ask you to sort of put a ribbon and tie a bow around this entire wonderful package of information that you've just provided us with, what would be the lasting message that you would want our viewers to know about all of this?
We have seen some pretty massive changes over the past 30 years with the introduction of the internet itself, of course, the cell phone, social networking, social media, and the wireless revolution, the wireless web. All of this was made possible only because we kept adding the basic infrastructure. That is to say, we kept adding broadband highways, or we kept widening the broadband highway. The next decade will see more change than we've seen in the entire past 3 decades, if not more than that, provided that we continue to build and extend the information superhighway.
Well, David, thanks so much for keeping old fogies like me up to date on these marvelous technological advancements.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for joining us.